Most Amazing Top 10ers, welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm Rebecca Felgate, and I'm imagining that pretty much everyone who watches this channel is a major babe and isn't evil in the slightest. However, for every few thousand major babes, there is one or two not so nice people out there. Not so nice doesn't actually quite cut it when we're talking about the people on this list, as I bring to you the top 10 most evil people who ever existed part 2. So, who wants to start off with a killer clown? Great! Coming in at number 10, we have John Wayne Gacy, aka the Killer Clown. John Wayne Gacy was an American pedophile and murderer who was eventually caught and killed by lethal injection in 1994. The disturbing thing about John is, from the outside, he seemed like a nice, good-humoured member of the community. He even dressed up as a clown called Pogo for children's parties. I don't know whether evil is born or bred, but it seems here that John had a very abusive upbringing and he struggled to deal with the fact that he was secretly homosexual. This was something his two ex-wives discovered before they divorced him. John abused young boys before he started killing them, but by the late 1970s, he was on a murdering spree. He would lure boys into his house, rape them and kill them, and then bury them in the crawl space under his home. He killed 33 males in total, and when talking about his killings, he explained that he experienced orgasms and considered death to be the ultimate thrill. John Gacy may be dead, but evil still lives in the form of this woman at number 9. We have Biljana Plavsic. This woman, the former president of Bosnia and Herzegovina, was tried and jailed for war crimes during the Bosnian War. What war crimes? Well, just the brutal ethnic cleansing of 200,000 people, something that she simply shrugged off as necessary. If you want to be technical, she was found guilty of 2 counts of genocide, 5 counts of crimes against humanity, and 1 count of violations of the laws or customs of war. This woman is very Dolores Umbridge in her evil deeds. She was actually released from prison early, as she was described as a sweet old lady who baked buns for her prison guards. Not only is Biljana still alive and free from prison, she is once again trying to gain political influence. A warning to us all that evil doesn't always come dressed as a sinister clown or wearing a swastika. Sometimes it comes with a smile and the sweet smell of buns. Although, speaking of swastikas, when someone gets a swastika tattooed to their face, you really need to ask some questions. Coming into number 8, we have the chilling man weirdly inspired by a Beatles song, Helter Skelter. We are of course talking about the swastika-laden Charles Manson. One of the most notorious serial killers to date, Charles Manson is as evil as he is criminally insane. Charles believed that there was an impending race war, and he had a strange ability to manipulate people to do what he wants. Again, unlike some people on this list that appeared to turn evil despite happy upbringings, Charles had an awful upbringing. Of course, that's no excuse for forming a cult and instructing the brutal and possibly satanic murder of an innocent woman who was 8 months pregnant. The Manson family, or so they were called, killed 7 people and probably would have murdered even more had they not been thwarted. Those who have encountered Charles have said that he gives off a resonance of deeply chilling evil. Coming in at number 7, we have Talaat Pasha. Another crazy racist megalomaniac. Talaat Pasha was the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire, and in 1915 he ordered the extermination of all Armenians in the empire and is considered to mainly be the orchestrator of the Armenian genocide. So at the time, the population of Armenians was 2.5 million, and he killed over half of them, including the entire male population of Angora. These weren't quick killings either. People were bludgeoned, tortured, dismembered, drowned, and boiled to death. Many men were even forced to rape their wives and children and then had their sexual organs cut off, all on Talaat's orders. Luckily, he got what was coming to him when he was shot and killed by an Armenian revolutionary. Coming in at number 6, we have Eel Kok. Eel Kok was arguably worse than her husband, Karl Otto Kok, head of the Buchenwald concentration camp. Eel was involved in horrifying experiments on the prisoners of war at the camp, including taking parts of their skin if they had tattoos and keeping them for herself. She even reportedly made a lampshade out of prisoner skin. She and her husband were also reported to have been involved in the murder of camp prisoners, and she actively embezzled money from them. Eel and Karl Otto were even considered too evil for the Nazis, which is saying something. Karl was put on trial and eventually killed by the SS for his crimes. Eel was later arrested for war crimes by US officials officials in 1945. When in prison, she presumably was racked with guilt. She said that she suffered delusions that concentration camp survivors would visit and abuse her. She killed herself in the 1960s. Coming in at number 5, we have Enriqueta Martí. Enriqueta was fundamentally a child snatcher and murderer, living in Barcelona in the late 1800s and early 1900s. What this she-devil would do would be to steal children and pretend they were hers for begging purposes during the day, then by night she ran a brothel ring, pimping out the children for sex. When the children became useless to her, she would murder them and grind up their remains into elixirs, which she then sold to people as cures for things like tuberculosis. She would also snatch children and sell them to wealthy families who could not have kids of their own, pretending that they were orphans. Gross. Speaking of gross, number 4 brings us to the KKK. The KKK stands for the Ku Klux Klan, and they are a group of white supremacists and murderers who famously carried out lynchings on black people as well as terror acts on various religious groups. The KKK have been around since the 1870s and have carried out countless murders since, but they are a secret vigilante group, so it's difficult to appropriate all of the crimes to the right people. The KKK are known for their rallies wearing outfits including scary masks, which makes them all the more sinister. Coming in at number 3, we have Henry Lee Lucas. Ugh. Henry Lee Lucas is known as America's most prolific serial killer, although nobody knows how many people he actually killed. He has confessed to killing 3,000 people, although the number was more likely to be in the hundreds. After killing his mother, Henry Lee Lucas was a drifter and travelled with his underage girlfriend Becky Powell, who he later murdered. Henry was regularly accused of sexual assault and would rape and bite his victims, who were almost always women, before then eventually killing them. He died of heart failure in prison in 2004. Coming in at number 2, we have Elizabeth Báthory. Elizabeth was a Hungarian noblewoman who is said to have killed over 650 people, a number that, if true, makes her, according to the Guinness Book of Records, the most prolific female killer ever. Elizabeth had a penchant for torturing and murdering young girls. Initially it was just peasant girls, but later it became daughters of lesser gentry who were sent to Elizabeth for nobility training. The girls were said to have been tortured, mutilated, had various chunks of their bodies bitten off, with some even being frozen or starved to death. Eventually, Elizabeth was found out by King Matthias II, who put her in prison, stopping short of sentencing her to death because apparently, potentially, it would have adverse effects on the gentry. I say kill the bitch. Coming in at number 1, who else can it be other than Adolf Hitler? I mean, arguably Hitler wasn't actually the worst of the Nazis, but he was the leader and instigator of their reign of terror. So, all things considered, he kind of has to be number 1, especially considering he is responsible for ordering the deaths of over 11 million people in concentration camps alone. That doesn't include the number of overall World War II deaths either. Hitler killed all opposition, plus the disabled, homosexuals, and of course the Jewish people. He had people's entire families shot and orchestrated the final solution, during which innocent people were stripped, shaved, and gassed to death. He was an evil, deplorable man. He even shot his own dog. Like, what an absolute dick. So that was the top 10 most evil people that ever existed part 2. Do you guys want a part 3? Remember guys, evil doesn't always look evil, sometimes it bakes you buns. You've really got to watch out for those bun baking old ladies. For now, I've been Rebecca Felgate, this has been Most Amazing Top 10. If you found the historical video very interesting, then make sure you give me a thumbs up and share it with a friend, and of course stay subscribed to Most Amazing Top 10 for more lists like this coming at you every day. I'll see you next time. Be a major babe. Evil people, they end up getting what's coming to them in the end.